Welcome, everybody. Here we are, Tom and Q Show, March 8th, episode 4 in our second season. I'm Tom, this is Q. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Whether you are live with us on Facebook, whether you listen to the podcast, watch the YouTube videos, we try to be a little bit of everywhere and just try to share our takes, our life experiences, and hopefully that'll help somebody down the line. If not help somebody, at least maybe it'll be entertaining or maybe reminisce a little bit. So,
well said.
With that being said, here we are.
Everywhere, man.
Everywhere. We figured this is a great lead-in to what we've got today. We both kind of took a long weekend this week. So yeah, we feel like we've kind of been everywhere. We've seen a lot of things. We'll also talk about, we'll give a little update on some of our takes from last week about the war in Ukraine, updates on our trip, and obviously we'll have some sports stuff in there as well. And who knows where the rest of the day will take us. But we figured we're a little bit early today. This is the first time.
Yeah, it's not even 11 o'clock yet, man. We got to do the opening spiel and
knock on wood. Today, smooth sailing, right?
Yeah, I like the way that sounds.
So let's jump right in. We did something last week that we rarely ever do, right? And we kind of both walked away last week, and I've even gotten a few comments in regards to kind of the show. Nothing bad, nothing good, just interest, right? So we tackled the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It's very rare. When we first started, we had this bell where we were like, hey, we're going to stay away from religion, stay away from politics, stay away from, all the hot buttons that people talk about. Rose, just to try to, one, challenge ourselves to come up with content that's interesting, content that's
creative stuff, and GOAT talk, who's the greatest of all time. We think that's
can't do that either.
Hack journalism, right?
Yeah.
It's not bad. So come up with original things and off the beaten path. Isn't that what Lance McAllister had? Yeah. I thought that was an interesting path and an interesting topic and way to go. I'm looking over my shoulder here, just waiting for Biden to step in. So
yeah, he's always late, so it'll be a while.
Political.
In saying that, we usually don't do kind of what we did last week, and we walked away like, oh, well, we'll see kind of how the reception is and kind of if there's any, I don't want to say hot takes, but any negative reaction, any positive reaction, kind of putting ourselves out there a little bit more than what we usually do.
Yeah.
So without further ado, the best way that we can tell going back in time, we also talked about, the new show on a new day, taking place on Tuesdays now, that what difference does that make to the viewer, to the listener, and obviously content is going to be equally as important as availability. Marvin Lewis used to say your best ability is
your availability. Right? Yes, I say that all the time. Love that quote.
Yeah, it's really good, especially, when you're talking about whether it's kids in sports or whatever, just in general, you get somebody that hurt all the time or has something else going on all the time, they may be the best athlete in the world, but I can't count on you.
Yeah, it's such a blanket great comment because, sometimes you just get that kid there. I just had a conversation with a girl the other day. It's like, you're a great athlete and you're a great ball player, so you just got this switch that just keeps going on and off. We just got to figure out how to either stay in control of that switch and when you turn it on and off. So, and you play a sport, with softball or baseball to where you can step out of the box, and it's okay to turn that switch off and just mentally do something. But as soon as you step back in the box, you got to flip it on. It's a weird sport, and the dynamic of those two sports, it's how often you can flip the switch on and off. But when you're engaged to respond, you have to have the switch on, or you available mentally to do what you need to do. So again, the statement is, you're just not available to do what is required of you right now. Mentally, you're just turned off. So be available to do your job.
Correct. And like I said, that's equally as important, if not more important, than how good you actually are.
Up in UMass, they're the Minutemen or Minute Women, and I think that's the greatest name ever because it's especially for for any sport. I'm not dismissing any sport. We're probably biased and a little closer to baseball and softball, but it's sometimes you call on a pinch hitter, sometimes you sub in a situation, and it's with a moment's notice, are you ready to perform? And that's what Minutemen are. From the militia, you're called upon in war to be ready to go whenever you're called upon. So I think it's, are you available? Have you done life's work to be available when you're called on in a moment's notice? I think it's such a great statement. I use it. I beat it to death.
It's an interesting, in not to beat up on Marvin Lewis, but his press conferences were always pretty drab.
Yeah.
So it was hard to find a lot of things sometimes that you could just grab onto. It's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And when you're talking about culture in sports or just culture in the workplace in general, like that was one thing when he said that. It was like, that's kind of a gem.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, this guy could be great, but he can't play, and this other guy's decent. Yeah, but then you have the other argument too, like 85% Michael Jordan is better than 100% Tony Kukoc, right?
Right.
So, like,
Right.
Little different scale. So anyway,
another great Marvin Lewis quote, real quick, was "Keep your head down and keep shoveling." When you're working, a lot of times people like to lift their head up and look back and kind of see the progress. So quit worrying about that and just keep your head down and keep shoveling. I loved that, the visual of that. So kudos to Marvin Lewis today.
Yeah, you didn't think we'd really talk about him, but like I said, you never really know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So let's talk last week, our podcast, right? So we hit Ukraine. We hit Ukraine pretty hard. No pun intended. But the data, the podcast stats, actually show right off the bat when it hit on Wednesday, nine downloads, 2 more on Thursday, couple Saturday, some today.
Ooh.
Total of 14. I saw somewhere earlier 15, so we won't argue.
That's good.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's looking at this stuff. It's like the whole sabermetric type stuff in baseball. It's like what do you decipher from it, right? So like, if we're looking at it, like if I was to say, hey, we're paying for marketing, right? Where would you put your marketing dollars into?
Right.
So in looking at this, 35% of our listeners, our podcasters, or I don't know what you would call that, podcast listeners.
Fan base.
Yes, right. 35% of them come from Facebook and 28% come from Spotify. So, which is really kind of where we put that stuff out. So,
yeah.
Whether the number's good or not, if you're just looking at overall data, pretty happy with it so far, right?
Yeah, that's a good number. I mean, part of our discussion is going to the Tuesday to get the content out there to see if people listen through the week instead of dropping it on Thursday and then the weekends here. And so if those numbers keep doing that, man, we might start going on Monday.
Yeah, you never hit the weekend, right?
Yeah.
In our line of work, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, Mondays are typically the slower days.
Yeah.
Because, not to sit here and
typically, yes. Yesterday was not because I've been everywhere, man. And you get back and it's like makeup time. So it's like,
Monday is kind of, especially when a lot of these places, like we do have admins, and like a lot of stuff doesn't really get updated until Monday.
Yes.
So like you're not seeing a bunch of new listings over the weekend. You're not seeing, you're not getting things taken off the market, in real time.
Right.
So that all happens on Monday. So like you might get on Monday, if you're looking at it at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, you might have 20 listings, right? But come Tuesday, and this is how fresh it is in my brain because I've been checking this for 2 years.
Right.
Like today there were 77 new listings, but there was 170 that went off the market, which is like that. Again, you're talking about data.
Right.
You're looking at that and you're going, okay, Monday's catch-up day for everybody, for the admins that maybe work.
Yep, all those houses that went under contract over the weekend.
Monday
it's
through
like
Friday.
bang, 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 bang. And we do it as well. When we're calling, hey, is that house still available? No, we accepted a contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
it'll be marked pending within, whatever time. We're at the mercy of that agent or that agent submitting it to their admin to get it, and it's just sitting in a queue to get taken off the market.
And just kind of staying on that, we don't talk. We've kind of going
Work.
Yeah, right. But again, if you're talking about kind of the stuff that we led into and we talked about last week,
Yeah.
right, and we talked about this geopolitical environment, the war, all these things that are kind of they're so out there that the layperson, I don't want to hear about that anymore.
Right.
So that was our first thought of like not talking about stuff like that. And then the same thing, like, with us talking about our work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, how many people really care how good or bad my day was
Right.
yesterday when it comes to...
I think I like to hear somebody's bad day sometimes because it reminds me that mine wasn't as bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if we're willing to kind of do a 180 on some of that stuff, like I
We
guess,
talking about work.
Yeah, it might be, and maybe there's something out there. I'd love to hear from people if people would be interested in this. Is just kind of maybe if we took a topic a week, right, and just said we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Maybe we get the Madden board out there and we write a definition.
Right.
This is what this is. Right. Something to help.
Yeah.
Right? We want to be entertaining, but we touch a lot of different topics.
We do. And if we're allowed to pat ourselves on the back, we were when the show first started, we were encouraged to talk about real estate.
Yeah.
Because that's what people affiliate us with, and throughout the year, it's you'd hear it peppered in of why don't you guys? It's a great platform for you guys, and it's like we don't want to force ourselves on anybody. We want to get off the beaten path. We want to have a normal, everyday conversation, something entertainable. And if we get stuck in that rabbit hole of us just talking about work, it's kind of like that moment to where we're having conversations, and I bring a new friend to the group, and you and I start reminiscing, and they're just kind of sitting on the sideline like, I have no clue about your guys' childhood. And, it's great that you guys used to wrestle on Heis's trampoline in his backyard, but...
Or would you rather see us... and actually, it's funny you say that because I thought about this.
Get the trampoline.
What can we do that's different than what we do, what was Thursdays, now Tuesdays? I was like, man, if we had an admin that could call like one of those backyard or even one of those
Who's got a trampoline?
behind, like, under the radar, like, pro wrestling schools, and we just go there and...
We still got to get in contact with the Havercamp group and go see the dogs.
We do.
So
yeah, I want to dress up and get attacked, I guess.
Want to?
We're kind of up for anything,
right?
So anyway, going back, I was like, maybe we could make a video of us just getting the crap beat out of us by a couple of real wrestlers.
Yeah.
That might work. Anyway, see, this is where this goes. It all started by us talking about data, and a couple of interesting points when you're talking about the data is this system that we use. It shows you like where people download them to and when they listen to them. And one of the two things that are on there, one is a smart TV. So if you're watching on a smart TV or anything like that, you can go to YouTube and watch the video as well. So if you're not just looking at a blank screen, hearing noise, this will show there's probably a little bit more, maybe a little bit less jargon or interference, because I cut it up a little bit to where it really just kind of gets to the point, than the actual podcast itself.
Right.
The other one is a smart speaker. I have not tried this yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I may do that this week just to get a full report on how I can log in, or do I just tell her, like, hey, play Tom and Q show?
Right.
I don't know.
I know in the past when you've synced things up here, it's crossed over to other things that wasn't intended to. And it's just like, I just want you to...
It would be all over the entire house, on every TV. I'd have Austin up there playing Fortnite, and then next thing you know, like, it kid shuts down, which is a whole different.
Level of rage and
Yeah.
he throws himself on the floor, kicks
have-
himself in circles.
Our internet sucks. We have the worst internet ever. Well, Austin, call Spectrum and tell them that their best internet is the worst internet, and then see what happens. All right? I mean, he just doesn't. He doesn't get it. So it's hilarious, but it's so annoying.
Right.
And I could go on, and I don't know if it's this way with.
It's like glutton for punishment, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to entertain this conversation just to punish myself
Yeah.
of where it's going to go and try to navigate through the nonsense of it. And
I could make an entire TikTok channel, and it would just be my kids playing video games, and the level of rage, the level of madness, the annoyance to each other, to me, to Nicole, like everything, like, and then you sit back and like they'll look at it and they're like, that wasn't me. Oh, go to the film. Like, go to the film.
set a booth up in the corner for like
It
instant
was you, like, we've
replays of your
we've
kid.
got a couple cameras around here. I could buy another one and put it in there just
Yeah.
to.
Right here, see the face. This is when it all spirals
Yeah.
out. This is when it all gets all out of whack.
Another pet peeve of mine is basketball in the house. Specifically,
Jumping up and touching the doorways, and fingerprints on
that
door
doesn't
games.
bother me as much
Alright.
as it sounds like they're like coming through the door
Right.
or coming through the floor.
Right?
And it's just like I give them all of about 3 times. After that third time, I'm like, no more.
Right. What do you mean? Like they play basketball like
Yes.
it got a goal on a
Yeah.
on a doorway and okay.
So yeah, and it's like a decent like looking goal. Like it's not a cheapie,
Yeah.
you know. But I
They
would
dunk on each other, cram each other
Yes.
into the door. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
or bounce the ball and jumping up and down, and it's like boom, boom, boom.
Do they ever play horse and just bounce it off the balls and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
It's just when they play one on one and it turns into a wrestling match of
When we
who can
did
get
it-
to the goal and score.
when we did it growing up, like our
It was the same.
our big well, we lived in a 3-bedroom ranch, and the basement was finished, but it was old style finish, so like anything got beat up.
Paneling walls.
Yeah, like nobody cared, and we didn't have it wasn't hanging on the door. Like we had one of those Fisher Price or whatever, and we brought it up as high as we could. And yeah, I'm sure we were loud, but you wouldn't hear us coming through the floor.
Right.
You know, the stuff that we did in basements, like growing up. We had block wars, and this was like, I remember that we were at a sleepover, and we were at a friend of mine's house, and we were chucking blocks from probably 30 feet away.
Like Lincoln log blocks? Like
Lincoln log blocks,
okay.
freaking square
Lego
blocks.
blocks,
These were
yeah.
all in storage basically from when my buddy was probably and his siblings were probably younger.
Yeah.
And we were just chucking toys at each other.
Ah.
And just like, I'm like, good grief, man. I'm like, I don't know what, I couldn't imagine. I don't know what I would do.
Right.
I'd blow up. I'd absolutely blow a gasket.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
I always tell my daughters, man, boys are dumb.
Pet
Little boys are
peeves.
dumb. We just did the dumbest stuff. Childhood memories like that, man. I remember Doug Retch's house is where a lot of my childhood unfinished basement for a while. We'd back couches up, make the wrestling rings in there, and just jump off the back of the couches, jump over the couches, and your rug burn all over the side of your face just from
yeah,
beating the crap out of each other. And it was just that was fun. That was entertaining.
everything from
Yeah.
football to basketball,
Yes.
to wrestling, to war, to guns, to hide and seek. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's soccer, and you're like, well, you're
Oh,
too
yeah.
close to hit,
Yeah.
you know, this far out, and it's just like, and
boom,
then
boom.
competitors, you get mad, so you hit even harder, and it's just
Little brother starts
get
crying.
mad at each other. You start fighting each other, and then you go out in the backyard and play another game.
That's
Get
it.
mad at each other, fight each other.
Go outside. Like, I don't care what you do outside. Go outside. It drives me nuts too. Like,
Remember those
this
mad balls with the angry faces? They had
Yes.
a ton of them. We used to play in Doug's backyard with those, and we'd always hit, and it would hit the siding of the house. His dad would come out so mad. Stop hitting into the house.
Yes. It's that doesn't bother me so much outside. If it's outside, it doesn't bother me. But you know, one of my, this is turning into a whole pet peeve,
Right.
Tom's pet peeve segment, is like we had really, really good weather over the last, I don't know, probably 5 out of the last 7 days. And they're playing outside. It's 70 degrees outside. The days are getting longer.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking you to come in. It's like they get home from school, they've been outside an hour, and they come, Dad, can we come in and play? No, you can't. It's 70 degrees outside.
That's awesome.
Go outside. Like, that's my, like, Blake, on the other hand, like, we'll be outside as long, and my kids are pretty good about going outside. But the pet peeve of, like, we're bored, we can't find anything to do. We've got a garage full of crap. It's like,
Yeah.
make something up. You know, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, I don't care. You know, whatever you want to do, do it. But you're not coming in the house.
Right.
Like, save that for,
What our parents used to say, go play in the traffic.
yeah, right.
Okay.
You got a skateboard, you got a bike, you got all these different things. Go do it. I know what you can work on. Yeah. You want to do homework? You going to come inside? Do homework. Catch up. Anyway.
Yes.
So Tom's beef segment is over.
There's a lot of parenting there.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of everyday,
Stuff
everyone
you can
deals with
relate
parenting.
to.
Yeah, I think it's all relatable.
Yeah,
We all deal with and go through. And
I'm sure each parent has their own, like, buttons.
yeah, oh yeah.
Like I shared on our page, it was a TikTok. This guy, it was probably a minute and a half long, and he was just doing all of these things that, like, none of them were outrageous, but it was just like, to the person, if you're watching, it's like, yeah, like, this is annoying. You know, it's like people that are like, how do you put the toilet paper? Like, that drives me nuts too.
Yeah.
You put the toilet paper over the top, or you put the toilet paper underneath.
You just set it on something. You
Or
don't
you
even put
just
it
set
back on the roll.
See, then you have nothing. That's the neutral stance,
Yes.
right? That's the neutral stance, is to just, hey, you do it with it whatever you want to,
Yes.
right? But this guy, like, he had a whole pizza, and instead of taking a slice of pizza, he cut a triangle.
I saw
in
that.
the middle.
Yes.
There was some type of, like, almost like a bundt cake looking type thing. Instead of cutting a slice, he took a sliver right off the top. I'm like, who does that?
That's the part I like.
My favorite was, I was
I
fascinated.
don't like the crust.
It was talking about pushing people's buttons.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of it was, like, he had, like, all of these, they look like Skittles, and he had them lined up in, like, this phenomenal, like, artistic order,
Yeah.
right? And, like, there was, like, a all purple star and, like, different colors, and they were all, like, patterns. And he had one left, and it was sitting over here. And he picked it up as if he was going to put it in there, and then ate it, and just left the one spot. And I'm like, no, you got to put that in there. So it was pretty funny. You can check that out. That was on our Tom McHugh page this week. So anyway, back to the podcast data. Yeah, this is the most interesting part,
Yep.
right? We again are worldwide. This time, we went from Cincinnati, Ohio, to Davenport, Nebraska, and then look this up.
Okay.
Trowbridge, Trow Bridge,
ROW Bridge.
Wiltshire, WILT.
England.
Yes, so we're out in England.
Whoa. All the way down south, so Southampton, London. So we are just west of London.
Nice. Maybe it's
So
the
not
Queen.
just west.
Maybe it's the Queen.
It's so London's on the bottom of England, and then just go west.
Maybe it's Uhtred of Trowbridge.
Maybe.
Speaking of which, it's either tonight or tomorrow.
So what's cool about Trowbridge is that is very close. So we were able to follow our lineage back through
Yeah.
Ancestry.com, and the port that Sir William Suggs left on in 1697 is Trowbridge is probably 45 minutes from the port that the Suggs family. So it's
Maybe it's a relative.
it's neat. Maybe saw
That would be interesting.
the Suggs name out there, and which used to be SUGG.
Okay.
And they added the S once we got to America. Sug is a bird.
Huh.
It's like a messenger bird, yeah.
That makes a lot more sense than kind of mine. I know, my lineage is kind of a hodgepodge of a lot,
Yep.
right? Italian, German, Irish, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at like how people created or have their last names created. It's interesting to me that like you trace that back, and it's still Sugg,
Yeah.
right? So it's close.
Right.
Like mine, like I'm like Talby. Like the phonetic spelling of it would be like tall, height,
Yep.
and then B, like bzz, like a relative of
A bee.
honeymakers. Don't know.
Right.
Have never really tried. I'm interested in it. So anyway, digress. So we are on pod in the UK.
Yeah.
Huge,
and
huge
I got
fan of
some of my
UK.
Anglo-Saxon family.
Yeah.
Because we're Scandinavian for a while. It's where the Suggs originated, is up in Sweden, and then Anglo-Saxon. So yeah,
Work themselves.
it's neat. It's neat to do that, and I got fascinated with it. And I got another site that I can't remember, but it's saved, and just kind of diving into it, and it dived further into, are you related to anyone famous, any presidents, anyone of the past? And I don't know if I found anything,
So
but
I've
it
always
still
been
links
told-
back to.
So I've always been told on my dad's side how this works. No clue. But like my great whatever, however many greats there are, was John Quincy Adams, whose father was John Adams. So, who we also heard,
So you're presidential.
well, not just that, apparently Princess Diana was also related to the Adams family.
Hmm.
So I'm royalty.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know how that all works. Could have been a lie. Not on purpose.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things that's been told down through the years with no real evidence or proof of it.
Right. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
We were on the Mayflower as it came over. That's where nobody famous, but we were linked to the Mayflower, which is it's cool. It's cool,
Interesting.
and to dive in deeper to it, again, is that true? Is everything? Because once you go on like Ancestry.com and you can finagle with it, it's almost like Wikipedia, where you can put in false information.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when somebody stumbles upon something and they're looking at because it's set up just like a bracket, like an NCAA bracket.
Yeah.
So who's your mom and dad? Who's their mom and dad? Who's their mom and dad? And so on and so on. And it gives you through this census, you could be related to this person. And I'm sure most people, if they get to it, like, oh, I could be related to George Washington, they're going to convince themselves that, well, I am.
Right.
Hey, no, do a little more research.
So-
Come from an unbiased position and then just say, hey, am I really? But if you stumble upon something like that, I'm sure your emotions will convince you to believe whatever you want to believe.
Control your narrative, right?
100%.
It seems to be the new words. We're also still going strong in Frankfurt, Germany.
Yes.
So, Hans, I hope you're doing well. Feel free, chime in. Again, I'll keep opening that invitation up to you. Man, it's just cool. That was a good week. Good week for podcast. Good week for podcast stats. So what it kind of tells me is, you know what? I don't want to necessarily say no holds barred, but
Yeah, we're opening up, man. We'll
Yeah.
talk a little politics. We'll talk a little
you're gonna get
work.
you'll get some opinions. You'll get some stuff that
There's Joey.
Yeah, as we're looking live, as Biden has made it now 11:26, his speech, and apparently we'll talk about this again here shortly as we do our
I don't
recap.
know what I feel about how much they read from a teleprompter. Yes, somebody writes their. I get all of it, guy. I'm not going in. I'm not tying on this hill of. But I would like to see bullet points and real emotion from our leader. no matter who it is, and not completely from left field like some leaders, but I would like to see something heartfelt. And I think when you're watching and you see their eyes just, going back and forth in a frantic, just reading from a teleprompter, I think it's kind of, it takes away. It's like that athlete that comes out in public and says something that's offensive, and then they got to apologize, and you can tell when it's scripted and they're reading their apology versus a heartfelt
Right.
message of any kind. And I like us, man. I mean, we got our bullet points, but everything we say is heartfelt, real, true to life. And there's times that we hold ourselves back because we know where we're going to go with it. But again, I don't know how I feel about reading from a teleprompter and not having heartfelt emotion put into what we're currently dealing with in the world.
No, absolutely.
So that's my first political take. Be you, be authentic.
Well,
if your emotion allows you to escalate to something, then that's what people like to follow. William Wallace didn't read from a script when he took them into battle for freedom.
but
He did, because it was a movie.
Mel Gibson.
Right.
So, breaking the news, right? I guess it's breaking news kind of out there now. President Biden has now banned the importing of Russian oil. So if we go back a little bit, let's go back to kind of last week, and we talked, we won't get into all the details and stuff that we talked about, but maybe just some updates from our perspective, based upon the stuff that we read, based upon the stuff that we see, and then kind of what our take on it is, right? So my opinion is that Russia thought this was going to be, I think, a lot easier than what it actually has become.
Fair.
I think they thought that they would have a lot more control, whether they had full control or the whole thing would be over at this point. No telling. They've kind of picked up their advancement, where maybe it was just kind of like dipping their foot in the water a little bit at first, to now full-blown assaults.
Yeah.
It's still going on. There's still.
So do you think Putin took our narrative and said, we'll figure it out? Let's just attack and we'll figure it out as we go along.
I think he almost had to, because he didn't want to be put.
Vladimir, there's other countries involved. We'll figure it out.
I'll be in the Putin corner if you need me. Right?
We'll figure it out. Let's just get in there.
And
then figure it out from there. What if we all die? We'll figure it out.
Blow it up. Blow a bunch of stuff up. We'll see where
figure it out.
We'll see where it literally falls. Right?
Vladimir, the rest of the world is not buying anything from us. Our economy's going to crash. We'll figure it out.
Well, yeah. And so, like, if you're talking about last week, you've got. I'm fascinated by propaganda. The word itself is just fun to say. Propaganda.
Yes. Is that in your notes? Just say propaganda.
Propaganda.
Just work it in.
Hashtag.
We got to have a word of the week where we just got to work it in.
Hashtag propaganda. And
like synchronicity.
yeah, and it's like you look at it and from the American perspective, from the American West narrative, like everybody is putting Ukraine on this, I don't want to say pedestal, but like
I think it's fair.
The attention is like they want to say like, hey, we're not taking sides, but like mentally,
But their Facebook picture is the Ukrainian flag.
Sentimentally,
Yeah.
we are fans of the Ukraine,
Yeah.
right? And so the propaganda that we see is, man, it's terrible, it's awful. They really need aid, they really need assistance. So you have all these countries and everything that are providing, whether it's military aid, whether it's medical aid, whatever, food, whatever it is, are doing that. That's what we see. Hey, the Ukrainian army is really held up, such and such, right? And then from the Russian standpoint, they are making, again, this could also, kind of double-edged sword here. from the U.S. media standpoint, they are saying that Russia is telling their people that they're going in there to get rid of child predators, neo Nazis. This is a liberation
Right.
of these people. This isn't an invasion. Blah 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 blah. And so that's being blasted over to Russia.
What an interesting narrative.
But it's like it's one of those things. Like true or false. Who do you believe? And when you're talking about war, is there really any way to get the absolute truth? To where you feel like unless you were there, like we've become so, I don't want to say jaded, but maybe that's a better word, towards every media outlet, because we don't trust that they're giving us actual news, but they're giving us what their narrative on what they want.
Right. And that's man, that's at every level. So this is close to home, and I don't know how much I want to talk about it, but at West Claremont yesterday, there was a kid with a gun.
Yeah.
So it's out there and had one bullet trying to load the gun and it's the girls get home. The school sends a message. I mean, they were on it. They pounced on it right away. Kid saw, reported it. The action that the student took seeing it to the administration pouncing on it and getting this done. I mean, it was minutes. It was done. So kudos to West Claremont and your staff for the response time. It was incredible. But then it's now everyone is speculating motive, and there's about 15 different motives out there, and and the only thing you can tell the girls at home last night when they were talking about it is don't talk about it. Like, you're going to hear 15 different opinions from 15 different people, and no one knows anyone's motive except the person that did it. Like, that kid is the only one that knows his motive. You know, he did it to get attention. He did it for himself. He did it because he's mad at somebody else. He did it just because he's a funny guy. And from what I understand, everybody liked the kid. Like, everybody walks on and his last name's Dahomey. So cool last name. Everybody loves it. Like, what's up, Dahomey? You're my Dahomey, right? And he interacted with everybody. So it's not like your typical scenario to where it was someone that was struggling with anything. So, you know, that's since we're the Gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's everyone nitpicks at the verbiage is a crowd of people, a group of people, a gathering of people, and how it's written. It's, well, it can't be true because these different writers wrote different. Well, it's it's eyewitness testimony, and you know, how far does that go? We don't know, but the consistency in the eyewitness testimony was, this is a pretty decent dude. People enjoyed being around him. Like, he was a fun guy. So was it for attention? Was it to try to be funny? Was it? We don't know. And the reason I come to this is because it's Grace and Audrey, just stay out of it, because you're going to say something potentially. You're going to go down a rabbit hole of speaking your opinion, and that's going to go on, and then someone's going to take offense to it, and then you're going to be caught in the middle of this whirl of you speculating, and you don't even know this kid's motive. So now we blow that situation up to a world level of Ukraine and Russia. Of who knows anybody's motive? You know, is it to go in and get pedophiles? Probably not. But, you know, can someone of any story control a narrative? Yes. Just sit back, let the dust settle, collect the facts, and it's not about reporting first, it's about reporting correct.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing, at least nowadays, for the public, people like you and I, and everybody's got an opinion, right?
Yeah.
And your opinion isn't always based on fact.
Correct.
Sometimes it's an emotional opinion. Other times it's based upon whatever narrative it is you're hearing, based upon whatever you're watching.
Right.
Right. And, you know, from this standpoint, from the American standpoint, you hear a lot of opinions.
Yes. Thanks to
Yeah, it's social
Technology,
media,
right? Social
It's
media.
social
It's-
media, technology. We've talked about this several thousand times. I think just the world being smaller,
Yeah.
and so the true or false propaganda, right? It's really difficult to sit back, not be directly involved, and and not have questions. So from a layperson's perspective on Ukraine, a lot of our opinions, our feelings are emotional based upon what we are witnessing from
Right.
what we're seeing.
Right.
Right. So, and then you get other news outlets that they show maybe a different perspective, right? And so they've been going through the last week. They've had, I think, 3 different meetings, negotiations, sit downs
Mhm.
between Ukraine and delegates from Ukraine, delegates from Russia. And basically, from what I understand, is Russia basically said, hey, you want peace, reduce your army to 60,000 people, do not join NATO, do not join the EU, basically become neutral. And it was like, that's pretty much a surrender at that point. So it's like, we're not doing it, right?
Right. Right.
We're not going to do that. It's like, can we have like corridors so people could escape if they wanted to? You know, these innocent people that are in harm's way, how can they get out? And I guess Russia agreed to that. The difference was, again, this is going back to from what you hear,
Yeah.
from what I understood and from what I heard, the corridors lead directly to Russia and directly to Belarus, which are both anti-Ukrainian.
Ukrainian. Right.
So, so they're still shelling everywhere else, unless you want to come to Russia or Belarus.
Right.
And then, show of strength, apparently Putin wants to hold public executions to show basically fear-mongering to people, like this is what happens if you go against
Wow.
the government. So all this stuff, this narrative that you're hearing, is painting him exactly like Hitler.
Hitler, Mussolini.
Yes.
Yeah. Stalin. All of them.
Yes.
Wow.
And so,
Genghis Khan.
and I think what you're seeing in general with that is
Oh.
nobody wants a war. Like, that's on the outside. Nobody wants a war, and everybody has their own interests, right? So you have these sanctions, and you started with monetary sanctions. Then you took we talked about last week, the SWIFT away, which is like their online banking system.
Yep.
You've had, this is funny too. Funny, I guess it's kind of funny from our standpoint, but all the, like Netflix, you can't get Netflix in Russia anymore. Can't use a Visa, MasterCard, can't use those. Every place has basically said no Russian planes can fly into our country, into our airspace. There's recently you have the U.S. ban on Russian oil. All of these things that are basically like taking Russia and squeezing them so small, not just the
Or are they going to become like North Korea? Just
Right.
alienate themselves from the rest of the world, and we'll live on our own resources, and we're not a part of the world.
correct.
And then in all their civilization, it just thanks Putin
Yeah, and so you have, would you then have an uprising
against Putin.
against Putin? And when do these sanctions ever end?
Which is a neat dynamic, because North Korea has never tasted freedom,
Right.
so they don't know any different. Like they're literally in a sheltered environment, and they don't understand what is out there, from technology to social media platforms. Russia, they never, well, not, they haven't had that level of confinement and restrictions. So they've tasted a lot of these freedoms, and then to have them pulled away, maybe there will be an uprising. I could not fathom that there isn't. That
Russia is it's a modern country.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
They have their cultures, like the U.S. and Europe, and they have their cultures, but it is a modernized country. That this is taking them back to settlement
100 years,
days,
yeah.
and to shut them off completely from everything else, from the Western world. A lot of countries, Europe included, like, they get a lot of their culture, a lot of their from the West.
Yeah.
You know, you look at LeBron James, Michael Jackson. You know, like, go name your Western celebrity, for lack of a better way of saying
Elton John,
Elton
music.
John, Michael Jordan.
Music is so U.S. and the Beatles and all of those, and then going back and forth. That is music is freedom. It is liberating. It is soul comforting to listen to music and the influences of music around the world. So and I know it's significant. I think bringing up just something like music on how influential it is to a culture, and then when that starts to change in Russia, it changes everything. It really does. When the rest of the world is not there to influence you, and when you're so used to hearing American bands.
And now all you're hearing is, like we talked about, the propaganda. All you're hearing is the Russian narrative.
Right.
And they want to control you to where you have this one-sided view of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's it's kind of one of those rabbit holes we're kind of going down right now. And over time, what does that do? Now, I know China has refused sanctions on Russia, so they are still they're a modern country, communist country, but modern. So at what point you have that kind of alliance or some type of partnership?
Yep.
Right. You've got, like we talked last week about oil and money, and money's at the center of everything.
100%.
So you have Russia, who has this oil, right? And we were talking before we came on. You mentioned, and again, we don't know if these numbers are true. We're just all basing this off of stuff that we have seen and heard. But you had mentioned that you had heard that the U.S. Only 3% of their oil imports come from Russia.
Correct.
And then I had heard that Russia's exports of oil, only 10% of that comes to the U.S., which doesn't seem, again, we're talking about percentages and data.
Yep.
Before, doesn't seem like a whole lot until you're in the position that you're in right now. Price of oil has went up. They know they can charge, so that 3% reflects a certain dollar amount over here,
right,
which is feeding into them. That 10% that's going to the U.S., maybe that 10% it's got to be equal to the U.S.'s 3%, but it's still expensive.
Yeah.
It's still billions of dollars that you're sending over there, which they in turn are turning around and able to fund their war machine.
Yes.
Right? Or they're fund whatever they want to try to open up that country, that circle, so it doesn't become North Korea.
Right.
And then you hear, we talked about, like, gosh, we have oil. And again, this is a different perspective than a little bit than what we took last week. In listening to the press secretary talk about, she was asked about the Keystone Pipeline. And they've said recently, like, the Keystone Pipeline won't help gas prices because it'll have to be opened up. There's still work on it that needs to be done. It's still years away before oil will even be pumping. Okay? Whether that's true or not, now my argument to that would be, but you do get American jobs opening that back up. So people are going to work,
It's a tough argument to
making money.
combat. Yeah.
You know, so is
But hey, we have to get this thing to work. We need hands on deck to get this thing functioning.
yeah.
Okay, fine. Put people to work.
Whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years
Right.
down the road, people get jobs, which means people make money, which means people spend money, which means other people are making money off of this oil pipeline that really have nothing to do with oil whatsoever.
Right.
They got to go out and buy food. They got to go out and buy cars. They got to go out and buy clothes. They got to buy houses. They got to do all these different things that they can't do right now because they're either unemployed or working at a different place that they're probably not making the money.
Right. And now because gas prices are so high, when I call an electrician to come to my house and his service call went from $75 to $150 because he's got to compensate for his gas expenditure. So, so now on that side of it, I feel the consequences of gas prices.
Filled up my truck yesterday, and I wasn't even empty. $85.
See, man. So I filled up my car. I got a Ford Edge, and it's 17-gallon tank or something like that. And I was on a $67, man, to fill up. That's a ton for me for that little car. It's like, man, but for $85, man, that's, for argument's sakes, round off. It's $100 just to put into my car to make it function.
A week,
Yeah,
right? If you're constantly
like that's a monthly
traveling,
expense.
$400 a month.
Yes,
$400 a month times 12. $3,600 a year on average in gas if you drive a truck like I do.
right.
Right? And I understand that. That's a
Well, you don't have to drive that truck. You can fix a different truck. You blah blah blah
Correct.
blah blah. Right?
You can
There's always
buy-
that argument.
You can buy an electric vehicle. Okay, look at the prices of electric vehicles. Do you think their prices have went down?
Right.
They were already expensive. They were
Right.
already out of my price range. Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Don't buy your $25,000 truck. Buy the $60,000 electric car, and then you can save on gas.
By the way,
How long does it take me to recoup that?
have you seen your Duke bill?
Oh.
Did the price of electricity and energy go down all of a sudden? No? Guess what? They're getting it somewhere.
Yes.
And I'm becoming a huge fan over all this of Elon Musk. I don't know anything about the guy other than he makes.
Should we have him on the show?
I would love to have him on the show. Hashtag neurology. Hashtag brain.
Science.
But the dude has flown people into space. They called on him to give the Ukrainians internet. It was done,
Yep.
right? Like, here's a guy that makes his money off of advancements in
Yes.
science, right?
Progression.
Progression.
Being very progressive.
Oh, he owns Tesla, the electric vehicle, right? He has come out and said,
Hey, I need to go ahead. Go ahead.
start making oil. For our future, start making oil again. I'm sure some way, somehow, he profits off of that, some way, somehow.
And I'm okay with that
Yeah, not a
because we
problem.
all reap the benefits of it.
But for him to say that, when he's got, green, electricity, so the new wave of the future,
Right.
and I can get you to space, and blah, 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 blah. Like, if he's saying that, like, don't you think, like, why would you listen to a guy like that?
Right. Right. Yeah. Speculating. Right. Going down that rabbit hole of motive of one to another, and it's if I'm our government and I hold all the chips and the narrative, why would I want to give anyone in the private sector any power?
No, they won't.
Right.
They won't. And it's funny too because you're hearing you have this Democratic Party section. You have Democrats like there's Tulsi Gabbard, right? She's
Big fan.
Yeah,
Huge fan.
she's a Democrat.
Yep.
But she has come out with a lot of her takes. I might not agree with all of her policies and political agenda, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But she is way more moderate and has way more common sense, I feel like, in a lot of circumstances. Again, my opinion,
Right.
than the far left.
Right.
And
Right.
she's coming out speaking against, hey, we need the oil, we need to open this up, we need to start be energy independent, blah 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 blah. And you know, if you remember during the debates, like Biden would be like, well, I'm going to get all these experts. Okay, so your experts who? Fauci?
Your biased, impartial experts. Go ahead, get them.
Your green New Deal. Like you're so prideful that you can't reverse course. Like part of being a good leader is also like realizing when you've messed up or when you're wrong or when times have just changed.
Yeah. That's
Maybe-
probably the times have changed. We're in a different circumstance, and times have changed. Make the adjustment.
And maybe, you know, there was part of me that kind of at least understood, like, hey, yeah, it's gonna take time. Like somebody has to, if you're gonna go this route, somebody has to flip the switch and say, okay, we're gonna do this. And
Yeah.
somebody's gonna take the fall for that, right? So like you have like, hey, we're gonna this Green New Deal, this green energy, and you know what? We're not doing coal. We're not doing oil. We're this is the route we're gonna go. We're gonna minimize all this stuff, and by such and such time, you know, we're gonna be. You'll be really. This will be the best thing ever. You just may not realize it right now.
Right.
I get all that. However, when times change, sometimes the best leaders are the ones that go, okay, you know what? This is kind of an emergency circumstance. We don't necessarily agree with it, but to help the people that I'm most involved with, the American people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting America first here, and we're gonna backtrack.
We are going to continue to progressively get toward this target, but right now we're going to alter our plan because if we go all in on moving toward this target, it's counterproductive.
But even some of the far left have even come out against.
Right.
You know, it's like pride. Pride's one of the 7 sins, right?
Yeah.
And is it pride that's like, I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong, right? Or is it something else? Because conspiracy theorists, right? I've heard this. I've heard.
All the money's backed into one little corner.
So
And then
is
they-
it the Putin
they-
corner. So
They control the narrative.
they don't want to start the oil. They don't want to be energy independent. So they will, and they're going to ban. He knew he was going to ban Russian oil, so he has reached out to Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela about tapping into their oil. So let me get this straight. If this is true, we're that prideful and that hard up on what we want to do that we are going to pay these other countries to give us oil. If you know the history of Saudi Arabia, the Iranians, Venezuela, not exactly fans of the United States.
Right.
On top of that, Putin has also said, from what I've heard, he wants to militarize Cuba. Which just so happens to be right off the edge of Miami.
Right.
He's also apparently landed planes in Venezuela because they are allies. So I get that. This is the conspiracy. I get that we're banning oil. However,
We're buying it from the Allies.
Yeah, and is there some back channel there, like we're still getting Russian oil, or are
Ah.
they feeding their allies? We're sending all this support supposedly into Ukraine, but in the same sense, like if we're feeding these people that are feeding,
So if you guys don't want to buy a house from Tom, buy it from me.
yes,
We will go back to Tom.
it is. You know, again, we said we'd open some of this stuff up, and you know, you never know really where.
I'm not buying Russian oil,
No.
but I'm buying it from Venezuela,
Yeah.
who is supplied by Russia.
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm buying it from the middleman at a higher cost, and I'm charging you $4 a gallon now.
Who wants to militarize an island, a communist island off the coast of Miami, Florida. The next few years are going to be very interesting when it comes to what some of this stuff leads to.
I did see a hilarious meme. Babylon Bee is probably my favorite thing to
Good.
follow.
Yeah.
It says the U.S. is selling Alaska back to Russia so we can buy oil from them.
Well, there's another thing too. Talking about the Russian airspace and the planes. Here in Ohio, we don't think a whole lot about Alaska.
It's funny. Somebody's just going to chime in just on that part, and then that's going to be the narrative. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
We're selling Alaska back to Russia's? Not true.
Well, you never think about, there was, I guess, an apparent agreement between some of the airlines. Russia's really close to Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of going back and forth there. So if I'm in Alaska, yeah, I feel like I'd be pretty nervous.
Yeah.
That leads to Canada. That leads to, and then you've got Cuba on the...
Sarah Palin, dude. She's still running it up there?
I don't know.
She'll fight.
She would fight.
She'll go to war with Putin. She ain't
Yeah.
afraid.
Putin corner, right?
Yeah.
And then you had, and this will be the last thing we kind of touch on this for today, at least what I'm expecting. You had the State of the Union address last week. And again, you talk about narratives because you listen to one, it's like that was the speech of his life. And then you hear the other side, it's like, he really didn't say anything, didn't change course, didn't say anything different.
It's like the Facebook whistleblower. There's algorithms that they track.
Yeah.
Okay. We knew that.
It's like he never brought up any of his, we'll call them perceived failures, right? For lack of stating any type of opinion, right?
Yep.
You have the Afghanistan fallout. You had the one, I guess she was a freshman, brand new congresswoman or senator who at some point blurted out, like, what about the 13 dead in Afghanistan? And, she got a bunch of boos, and, the other side was just railing on her about she's trash, she's this, she's red, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And, on the flip side, it's why wouldn't you bring up
Right.
those people? Was that your narrative? Was hey, nobody's gonna know. Everybody forgot about these people over here.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, no. That was wrong, right? And then I'm watching it, and I think we all know.
And I think that has to be brought back up. And I'm not sure the reason. It has to be brought back up because, hey, that is how you address foreign affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're into another foreign affair. Your track record isn't hot.
Yeah.
So do we trust you moving forward with the decisions on how you want to handle foreign affairs? Because the last time, well, it didn't go well. It was a disaster. So, hey, can we bring that back up as we follow you moving forward on handling a foreign situation?
Well, it's such. If you watch that for entertainment, it was extremely entertaining.
Right.
Because you had, and I watched it. So the stuff that you're seeing out there actually happened.
Mm.
So he tried to say Ukrainians, but said Iranians.
Yes.
Fact. That happened. Then you had Nancy Pelosi behind him all of a sudden get up and do this little shimmy and then shimmy back down. I started laughing. I'm like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
And then you had, when he said Iranians, Kamala Harris is behind him, she's mouthing it.
Yeah.
And then there was another senator because you got all these cameras there, and he when he said that, it's you could read his lips. It was what the F, right?
Right. That's.
But yet you have the one side that doesn't matter what the one side says, they're stuck to it.
Yeah.
And you have the other side that's the exact same way.
And we touched base on it last week because there are those blunders, there are those bad things, but he is our president. That is the structure of the government that we live under, and he was appointed, he was voted in, and we cheer for him.
Yeah,
Go Biden, do a great job.
I want him to be the best president ever.
Yes, I
love
do
that.
not want him to fail.
No,
I
'cause
want
if
him
he
to figure it
fails,
out.
We fail, and if he fails, we suffer. And right now, we are suffering.
Yes,
Bottom line,
right.
bottom line to that. So anyway, let's transition. Let's transition to kind of what we talked about, what we really plan to talk about. We spent a lot of time on Ukraine, and it's important.
Alexa, play Willie Nelson on the road again.
Yes, good transition.
Here's On the Road Again by Willie Nelson on Amazon.
So we'll start with you.
All right.
All right. So this you took a long weekend this weekend. Where'd you go?
Went to Athens, Georgia to watch Paige play ball against the big, mighty SEC competition. So it was neat on the way down. We got off the beaten path a little bit, and I think that's been said a lot today, right? It's drove down through the mountains, and Jessica, we kind of, when we do those, because we're thinking retirement, we're thinking empty nesters, we're thinking second house, we're thinking, things that we want to do, travel, get in the woods or in the mountains and just kind of have a getaway place. Not because of what's going on in the world, just because we want to sit on a giant hill and look out over a beautiful landscape that God created and enjoy that, right? So we're driving through the mountains, and she's pinning stuff on her phone, sending me places, saying, when we get home, let's look into these because I like this setting. This is the setting we want to retire in or have that getaway place in. So that was a fun way down, and it was cool because on the way down, going through Dillsboro, North Carolina, she pinned it. And then on the way back, I had to work, so I connected in my hotspot on the phone. I'm working, and she said, "Hey, will you pin this place?" I was like, "Yeah." So I pin it real quick and set it down, and then she sees a sign, Dillsboro, North Carolina. She was like, "Awesome!" I pinned that on the way down, and I drive back through it. I love it again.
Yeah.
So let's really look into this area. It's like, great, cool. So that was fun part of our trip, and that. I think it helps us with the long trips like that. It was a 7.5 hour drive, but it's just things like that of like, hey, let's go this route and let's start thinking future. But no, it was a good trip. Paige had a good weekend. It's and I touch base on it all the time. Every time we talk about those trips back from Paige, how much she's matured, how proud I am of a dad, of watching her grow, watching her mature. She struck out quite a bit this week. But she got a lot of hits as well. So it's kind of like you're leading the team in batting average, and soon you're going to be leading the team in strikeouts. Not the normal combo of a hitter.
Right.
And it's like going for school records for strikeouts in a weekend. Most strikeouts in a weekend, most hits in a weekend. She's going to own those records. And we laugh about it and have a good time about it. And it's just her composure of a competitor to not, because we always talk about living somewhere in the middle, right? Don't get too highs in the highs and too lows in the lows. Be grateful for the good time, grateful for the bad. Those are cliche things and mindsets that we pound in because the good's not the truth, the bad's not the truth. So live somewhere in the middle. And to have that conversation and laughter and fun of like, hey, I struck out 4 times today. And that's hilarious because I'm setting records.
Is that 4 times in one game?
No.
double
She did have I don't think she struck out. She did have one game where she struck out 3 times, but she had a lot of hits this weekend too. And
Did you throw a hat at her?
no, I didn't have one, but I wanted to throw the hat for the hat trick. So
Throw it out there.
So we had fun with that. But she's still batting 370 something or other. Close to 400 on the season and her on base. So she took like 3 walks this weekend, which a kid never walks. Like.
Now,
She either
did she
hits
play in, how many games were there?
5,
Did she play? How many other games did she play in?
all of them.
Nice.
So I think she's won that spot,
Good.
hitting in the 2 hole. So good for her. Proving herself, and I think some of it is, again, like she may have walked 5 times in her career. Like she never walks. Like she swings, she either hits or she strikes out.
Right.
Like she's put the ball in play or she's chasing something crazy. She doesn't walk. She doesn't like to walk, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's who she is. And
Now, were her strikeouts looking or swinging?
there was one looking, and it was it was that strikeout looking towards shock. So from our perspective, it was like maybe that was a ball, or it was just a nasty pitch that broke and it caught the corner, and we don't know, right? It was called a strike. Some of those you say, hey, foul that ball off, it's close enough. But she doesn't respond that way ever. So I'm leaning toward, not to be biased toward my own kid, but it's like probably maybe was a ball.
So you give way more leeway than my old man did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be tough, man. I used to be tough, but it's just, as I watch other parents and their interaction, it's like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that dad. I don't want to be that. So I've really scaled it back, and having multiple conversations with Paige and accepting the fact that you're an individual, I'm an individual. You're going to respond the way you're going to respond. I'm going to respond. I'm much more fiery. I'm much more passionate. I'm much more emotional, and she's much more even keel. And it's who am I to influence or push my character on her? Like, you be you, I'm going to be me. You handle the strike. I would have handled it different. You compose yourself the way you are, and to look back over the body of work, like her character got her where she is today. So it's just the humility of being the parent is, who am I to inject my way of life on you? You're mature enough to handle it. Figure it out, kid. And it's, we talk about it, and there's sometimes where those great conversations we have are, Dad, I hear you, but that's just not who I am. And then we had a good conversation about how you handle people that you just don't agree with or get along with. And Paige, she killed them with kindness. She was like, I'll pick up her glove for her. I'll pick up her visor for her. I offer time for her. I step up and here and there. And I don't feel the same, but I'm going to continue to be a good person. And when the dust settles, I can rest assured I did my job as a person. And it's like, wow, Paige, that's big. And then Jessica's like, no, absolutely not. I disagree. No, I'm never doing anything for her. I'm never going to talk to her again. I'm going to burn her house down.
I'm going to sit on the other side.
Right. I'm going to tell her to her face, I don't like you. And we're going to have to accept the fact that I don't like you. And Paige was like, no, I'm going to do kind things for her.
What's funny about sports, we talk about the locker room atmosphere all the time. And when you play things, there are teammates that you have that you just, I don't want to use the term not like, you just don't get along with.
Yeah,
like,
we're great friends. We're mother, father, daughter. Like we got a great relationship. But she would look at me like, you're way too fiery. Like, that's not who I am. I don't like that. And I'd be like, you're way too even keel. Do you even care?
But you have, you have that, we'll use the term narrative again, right?
Right.
Each person has their kind of their own narrative. But then you have those people, right? And it's like I've played with quite a few guys who, like, we're friends. We don't hang out.
Yeah.
Right? Well, a lot of times, because, like, when we are together, as much as even though we want to be together, like, it's not good.
Right.
It's like we just, it's like brothers, right? You're just bickering back and forth.
But dang it, I love you, man.
It
pisses me off.
And it's like, there are people like that I played with that, like, I don't want to hang out with on a regular basis, but you want to play again? Give me that guy.
Yes.
Give me that guy.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to play with anybody different but that guy.
Yes.
We don't have to be friends, but I love the way you play the game.
Yes.
And I want you on my side because I don't want to play against you.
Right.
And there's a lot to that.
Yes. 100% nailed it, man. You nailed it.
And it's funny because Mike chimed in too. I said, yeah, you were way easier than my old man was. And my dad was not, like, when he would come to games, like, he wasn't loud. Like, he just sat there. Car ride home. and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, and I'm sure you're kind of the same way. Like, I hate when parents try to coach their kids from the sideline. And I try, like, this, it's a pet peeve of mine. And if I'm not coaching it, like, I try really hard. And, like, in my head, I'm like, can I give them, like, that telepathy, like,
yes,
yes, like,
yeah.
do this.
So for that, I recorded one of her at bats from up top. UGA Stadium is phenomenal. So I go up top and I record down, and I see a little hitch in her hips, and I come back down. I show it to Jessica, and I'm like, how do I convey this to her? Like, she's a big girl. She's grown up. Like,
We're gonna have code words. We're gonna have
It's like,
signs.
I said, how awkward is it? Because you could see her coach right at the end where we were sitting. It's like, do I go to Coach Mack and say, hey, real quick, and we're like, no, she's not Little League anymore. I'm like, but I see it. I see what she's doing wrong, and like, it needs to be fixed. So she runs off field. She's right field. She runs right past us, and I don't say anything. Jessica was like, you didn't say anything, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it to where it's not like that dad. Right? I was like, man. So she's running back out again, going after the inning. She's running back out to right field, and we've been together enough. I said, Paige, your hips actually open up a little early. She was like, it was just the body language of like, that's what it is. And she comes back, and her next at bat, she gets a hit, solid hit, and it's just like after the game, she was like, thank you. I couldn't figure it out, and it's like, so it was just a quick
Are you
passing.
sure she wasn't killing you with kindness? Because to me,
Well done, Paige.
Because
shut up, Dad. I know what I'm doing wrong. I love you.
Like, so the best thing last year when Carson was playing for school was I would go to the games, and they were looking for somebody to keep score. They didn't have like on the phone, so it was an actual book.
Right.
Like, it was the best thing ever for me because I would score it and try to do a good job scoring it, and I'd keep stats and all these different things. So I wasn't really like, it was something to do as opposed to like just sitting there like if he didn't do something right or like
Okay.
I wasn't
It
gonna
occupied
stew
your
it.
thoughts
I
of.
was moving on. It's like moving on. Next guy's up. I got
I got. Yeah.
And so like I wasn't
When they say idle hands, the devil's work, right?
Yeah, so
you ain't got anything to do. You're gonna critique your kid and get mad.
right, and that's
Give me something to
that's
do.
very good because that's exactly was kind of my plan, and because it is his thing, and I've coached him for baseball forever, and this was the first time that I've been
Yeah.
on the sidelines, right?
Yeah, and you know, like, if they haven't figured it out now, maybe you should evaluate the coach.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me.
Right.
Oh.
No, we don't want to evaluate that guy. Yeah. But like there would be times like it has forever drove me nuts. Like you had mentioned the hips, right? Like when I'm coaching, like I try to do all of that type of stuff like in the drills, right? And I don't want my hitters thinking about their hips, their hands, all
Correct.
these other things while they're up to the plate. I just want you to be able to swing the bat.
Yes, that's it.
See
That's
the ball,
it.
the simplest
it.
form of just seeing the ball, hit the ball. So I will stay away from any type of like instruction.
Yes.
Like you like after the game, like, hey, you hit a couple balls hard, whatever. What happened on that last one? I was like, to me, kind of looked like you pulled your head. And then it's like, okay, like with my kids, like with Carson or Austin, it's like, okay, we'll go. Do you want to work on some hitting? Like, here's what I've seen. Let's work on it. Right?
Yeah.
Now, you strike out looking, we got proud. Just like my dad, when the car ride home, like, or when we get home, like, what did you see? Oh, he fooled me. Bullcrap. Bullcrap. There's no reason for you to get fooled by a pitch, ever. You could get dominated.
Yeah.
Your first at bat. Your second at bat, you better be better. Your third at bat,
Yes.
better be better than that.
Yes.
Because if not, you didn't do your homework to get better. And I'll give you an example.
Such is life. You've had bigger at bats than this. I actually used
Correct.
that analogy while I was out there.
I feel like every time I said that to you, like I find myself using that more and more.
Yeah.
But so using that kind of fuel as an example, I'll give you lesson learned. 2 lessons for me, right? I was a sophomore playing varsity in Coleraine. We're getting ready to play LaSalle. It was early in the year, but this was the first time that I was going to bat leadoff. And we're facing LaSalle, who had Zach Day, who got drafted, made it to the majors, like stud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 135 pounds, 5'6",
5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing.
barely 16 years old. I may not even have been 16 years old yet. And the first at I'm batting leadoff, 3 strikes. No, just strike one, swing and miss, like gassed. Right?
Yep.
Okay. What do I got to do? What do I got to do? Do my homework, make the adjustment. Still struck out, but I fouled one off. Okay. Man, this is hard. Like this sucks. Like you get this feeling, it's like, do I belong? Like, this is dominant? It's like, what am I going to do? And so I bat a third time. Swing and miss at the first two, right by me. Third one, ground ball to the pitcher. I got out, and it wasn't hit very hard.
Right.
But, like, was I happy about it? No. But that homework, that progression, each one got a little bit better.
Yeah, the only way you're going to time up your swing is by swinging.
That's it.
That's it.
And
Swing and miss. I'd swing and miss by a foot, swing and miss by 6 feet. Swing the bat.
There are always calls in a game, whatever sport you're playing, that has an effect or influence on the game. You'll never catch me saying, this umpire, this ref caused us to lose. Because when you say that, just like they have influence on certain portions of the game, there's also another portion of that game or portions where you had an influence to do something to change it, to take it out of that particular person's
What
hands.
a great perspective.
Right? And just look at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, like the last drives, like that sucked. And there was an indefinite influence on that game. However, had the Bengals done what they needed to do in the coming out when they got the interception after the touchdown, the very next play, and getting points out of that, now all of a sudden those plays don't mean anything anymore.
Right.
And you're holding a ring. So I was 18. We were playing at Dayton University, and so 45-minute to an hour drive to get up there. And my last two at bats, I struck out looking. And the ball, I remember both, it was low. Like, I'm a swinger.
Right.
Like, it was low. Dad wanted to know. Like, so much our coach got kicked out, right? We get on the ride home. Oh, worst 45 minutes, like, back and forth ever. Like, it was like, I don't care. Like, if he calls it a strike, it's close enough to be a strike. You better be swinging.
Right.
Whether you and again,
foul it off.
That goes back to your homework of like, what's this guy calling every?
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe if I've got two strikes, that zone has got to be a little bit bigger. But that's how not to take away from your story, but that was how
it relates. It's perfect.
That was kind of how I grew up. And like to Mike's point, like, you strike out looking, like, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen? Yes, it's going to happen. But you got to do everything in your power to not let that happen.
Right.
And it's a fine line there, too, because you mentioned she walks a lot. There's walking a lot this year.
Yeah, she is walking more this year.
So, like, and that's kind of become an influence in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're top of the order, getting on base is becoming the biggest and best stat there is.
Yes.
So, what would you rather do? Strike out? And it's again, we're talking about coaches and leaders changing with the times, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. I understand it. I like productive at bats.
Yes.
Okay. If you put the ball in play, you have a better opportunity to get on base than if you strike out looking.
Yes.
If you swing the bat, you have a better chance of putting it in play. If you put it in play, you have a better chance than not swinging. So
correct.
That's kind of my school of thought is hit the ball hard somewhere.
Yes.
We'll worry about all the other stuff, the hips, the hands, the time, everything else that goes into.
There is 0% chance of a throwing error if you watch strike three go by.
Yeah. And
just even a weak ball. Something could happen.
And there's nothing worse. Oh man, we can go down. I can talk about this. Like I can do a whole show on this.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going on a rant.
There's nothing. So we had when I got to college, we had you learn from different people, right?
Yeah.
So like obviously, my dad growing up introduced me to the game, brought me to a certain point, and then you get to high school and you're around other coaches and they have their way of doing things, and you're learning a little bit more advanced,
Yep.
right? Like the summer coaches or the high school coaches, whatever. And then you get to college, and it's a whole different level,
Right.
right? It's a second job. So like being studious, like that word, studious, into and understanding why and how certain things work and
Yeah.
how it's supposed to work. And so we had, anytime there was a runner on third with less than 2 outs, we had the contact play. And the rule was, if you're at the plate and it is a strike, whether it is a fastball, curveball, changeup, slider, knuckleball, 95 miles an hour to 45 miles. If it is a strike, you are to swing and put that ball in play. Or at least, at the very minimum, give your attempt to put the ball in play.
Right.
There's nothing worse to me than having a runner on third, less than 2 outs,
And not giving that guy a chance to score.
and striking out.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that beats that is striking out looking. The only thing that beats that is watching the first pitch fastball come right down the pipe and you don't swing it.
Yeah, I'm neutral on that. That last one, I'm neutral on that because some people like they like to get a feel. They like to. It's part of their repertoire. So I don't want to get going back to what you said earlier. I'm not going to critique like if a hitter's strategy is what a strategy is. Like, all right, I saw the tempo, I saw the tone, I saw the spin, I saw everything. Okay, now I'm ready. If whatever the next pitch is, so it's. I think that's case by case. So I don't put a lot of emphasis on that, but everything else I'm 100% in alignment with. Of just, I mean, it's life. Like I think baseball and softball are the. Now I wouldn't say they're the ultimate team sport, but I do think they reflect life better than any other sport because you as an individual have to prepare yourself to be the best you can be for the betterment of the team. So when I'm on the bench, I'm number 4 in my lineup, and the number 7 hitter's up to bat, I have no influence in that game except to be a good support system, a good encourager, and then flipping the script. Now I'm up to bat, and I know the best player on our team is not going to influence this game. It's up to me. So if I'm not a minute man, if I didn't do my due diligence to prepare myself, and then when you look at life, like where you land in life, it's you look at your support system, you look at everybody around you, you look at the different types of coaches and how many players and coaches have made an influence in your life, and it's like, do you do something with that information or not? So and defensively, if you want to win a game, if you're playing left field, the ball's hit to right field, you're not a key figure in that, but your support system is. So I love the way the game is designed. I love that you have to be responsible to be as good as you can be. And it's not even for yourself. It's for the betterment of the group, for the betterment of the team. And it's, I'm here to hit. So who was it? Jessica, she asked me, why is it that when someone hits a game-winning hit, they are celebrated more than the girl that comes across the plate and scores? So that's a good question, Jess. And that's something that I go back and forth on as well. And that's why you hear some coaches say, hey, 1 hit at a time, 1 hit at a time, 1 hit at a time. Because that philosophy falls into the 1 hit at a time approach of the game. Like you get a hit, you get a hit, you get a hit, and runs are going to start being produced. But who's the hero of the game? I don't have an answer for that because everybody did their individual job to get on base. And it's, again, we could talk philosophy and mindsets all day on this sport. I think it's perfectly designed that in this game, you're on the bench cheering someone on where you have no influence on it, or you're the one in the box having to make the hit, and the rest of the team has no influence on the game. But either way, you all have to do your job outside to prepare yourself, because when you make that hit, everybody wins.
Yeah, so I really like your analogy on the game in relationship to life. I talk all the time, as when you have high school kids in the summer and they're going to go off to their high school coaches or they got trainers and what have you. It's kind of like a football playbook. we as coaches, we're not teaching robots, but there are some fundamentals to whether it's hitting, whether it's fielding, whatever. They may explain it different than I am,
Mm-hmm.
but the end result is always trying to get you one to be successful, right?
Right.
You can talk about all the intricacies and all the other stuff that goes into it, but you may explain something different than I do,
Right.
but we're really, if you can see through it, we're explaining the same thing, and we want you to do the same thing. So I'm going to use that in relation to what you said about life, because you said it's the greatest team sport.
No, I said it's not. It reflects life the best, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the greatest team sport.
Well, you went that way first,
Yeah.
and backtrack, and that's what I was going to say. Like, you started to go with the team sport, and I was kind of raised an eyebrow, like, huh? And then you circled back,
Right,
to
right.
what my point was. My point to that was, baseball's such a unique sport when it relates to life, because you have aspects of it where it is the most individual sport on the planet, other than golf, right?
Right.
Most individual sport on the planet, but then you also have aspects of it where it is the
Are
most.
absolutely 100% dependent on someone
Correct.
other than yourself.
Yeah, and
But
so
it's an individual sport.
You
It's
have
it's
you versus
unique.
the pitcher, right?
Yes.
It's the hitter versus the pitcher. Mono a mano, womano versus womano. I don't even know if that's a word, right? But and then you have, like, you can even go to a step further to where if you're on defense, it's you versus the ball.
Yeah.
So if you're out there all the time on this island, and then you have the aspects of pitcher versus hitter, but I'm playing shortstop. So unless the ball is hit to me or hit in my area or a play is taking place, I don't have any impact on that pitch location, that pitch speed, what the hitter's going to do. My impact is giving that pitcher everything I've got, or if I'm on the bench, giving that hitter everything I got, letting them know that, yeah, like, I am behind you 100%. I want my team to succeed. You could take that throughout the workplace, throughout the world, throughout leadership.
Yeah.
And-
The rest of your life, your success is solely dependent on someone else.
Yep.
And that's tough for some people to swallow that pill.
It is, and you'll find some of the most successful people in that game. They relished in the moments that it was them.
Yep.
They also relished in the moments when it was somebody else.
Yes.
And that, I mean, those are the types of guys that have the greatest reputation in the game.
Yep.
Bottom line. So good. I'm glad that was good for you. We're gonna transition now into my trip.
Your trip, your
Okay?
weekend.
So
Nice family getaway.
we had talked about a couple times about our Christmas present, right? And we did a scavenger hunt, and it was really well put together, really well thought of, prepared well in advance, unlike anything that I would do, right? And a couple of weeks before, it's like, hey, we're going to go to spring training. The lockout's taking place, and well, what should we do? Well, maybe let's not go out to Arizona. Let's not spend that money. Let's keep that money kind of and make a shorter trip out of it. Something that's a little bit easier to plan, a little bit easier to adjust. So we decided we were going to go to Columbus, Ohio. And I had been to an NHL game, the Blue Jackets, many, many years ago. Had a great time. The kids, we have the NHL video game. They like going to the Cyclones games. But NHL hockey is a completely different animal than
Yes.
anything else. It is a major league production.
It's so fast. It's so clean. It's so
Yes.
sharp. It's just
So
crisp.
They had 2 games this past weekend, both at home. So it was like, oh, this would be a great opportunity. We can take a long weekend. We don't know really a whole lot about Columbus necessarily, but this is going on, so we can base our trip around these 2 games, and in the dead time, we'll find other stuff to do. So a couple days before we hit, or like a week before we were going to leave, 2 weeks before, she's like, hey, I found a hotel that's available, because when we looked a couple of months ago, nothing was available. Like, man, what is going on in Columbus that there's no hotels downtown near the arena, because we wanted to park and just walk near the arena, that were available.
Right.
So one opens up, she books it, and I'm like scrolling through Twitter last week, and I see the a thing about the Arnold Festival coming to Columbus.
Yeah.
And I had heard about the Arnold Festival, and I knew it was pretty big.
And that's Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yes.
and bodybuilders and
Terminator.
the most
Conan
shredded.
the Barbarian,
Yes, it's a huge event.
kindergarten cop, the Predator,
Another Toma.
the dude from
Commando.
Commando. Yes, yeah. We know Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Well, he used to be bodybuilder.
Yep.
I think he was even Miss Olympia.
The Governator.
Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, I
The
think so.
Governator, yes. So it clicked. I'm like, that's what's going on. That's what's taking up all the hotels downtown. So like I do a little bit of digging. I'm like, man, we might have some dead time. Like, man, the people watching over there would be amazing.
Yeah,
You know,
you walk around the dudes with your chest
Yeah,
puffed out.
like
I'm
like-
as big as you.
I like fitness. I like exercise. And you go to conventions. A lot of times you go to conventions, like you get free stuff. Whether it's, could be a koozie, could be, a T-shirt.
Some
could-
biceps, some
something.
pecs.
Yes, plastic surgery. And like, I look it up, and I'm like, it wasn't exactly what I remembered it completely being about. It actually has gotten even bigger. So like, if you can imagine, I'm gonna call them alternative sports, although they're not really alternative, but we'll just use that term.
Right? Like X Games type stuff, maybe?
No.
Okay.
Different. I guess you could say yes, but kind of a little bit different.
Okay.
In terms of that, so like they have the physique competition, right? Which is your bodybuilders. You're being judged based upon what you look like. You have the strongman competition. You have bench press competition, squats, deadlifts. People are like, there was one I saw, Blake showed me. He's like, is this at the Arnold? And there was a girl, she's 135 pounds. She lifted up this, it had handles on it, this 738-pound stone.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like, it's complete freaks of nature, like strength-wise.
Whoa.
There. And then they had, there was a they have all these booths, and you can meet people and celebrities. Like Arnold was there, Coach John Gruden was there.
I saw that.
There was a couple of pro wrestlers that were there. I'm sure there were other people that were there as well. But they were all set up in these booths, and they had a pro wrestling exhibit. They had arm wrestling. They had the slap fighting that you've seen, which looks like arm wrestling.
Yeah.
People are knocking each other out. They had that up there. They had kickboxing. And the funny thing about it is the hotel that we found was right across the street from the entrance.
Awesome.
So our hotel overlooked High Street on the corner. So literally we're looking, like I spent 2 hours all weekend, literally just took a beer, and my kids and we were all doing it because we got upgraded room.
Yeah.
And so we had I don't know, I've never seen a presidential suite, but if I did, this would kind of be what it would look like.
Right.
So you walk into one room, and it's basically a living room and a small little like kitchen area. It's got TV, pull-out couch, and 2 windows. And then the room off to the side it was your typical hotel room. It was your double bed, bathroom, TV over there. So we've got 4 windows. And there's 5 of us. Well, 4 of us. Carson really wasn't allowed in. Move. And you could hear from the other room, Dad, look at this guy. He's huge. And I'm like looking over here. I'm like, hey, look how built this lady is. Like it's like they're just walking down the street. We're just yelling at each other. Like, hey, look at, oh my gosh. And like you could see the Arnold statue. Like this whole thing. Like it blew my mind how big this actually is. That it's not just a moving deal. Like they had logos on every door, every window, and then right outside the entrance is the Mr. Olympian Arnold statue.
Do we know why Columbus, Ohio? I don't mean that to come across in like a shot at Columbus, Ohio, but
I'm guessing it's central. I mean, this thing's worldwide. They
yeah,
have
it's huge. It's
flags up and down the
massive.
street of every single country, and like
I wonder why. Yeah,
maybe they just did it
location.
there one time, and it was like, oh, this was a big
Convenient. Yeah, it lays
And
out
they
well.
had- Now with COVID, they didn't have it last year.
Correct.
And so they probably skipped the last 2 years.
Yep.
I'm guessing. timeline, maybe they got the one in a couple years ago, but so people have kind of been waiting to come back to it, and like we're watching across this, there's cops there, and in the morning, I'm watching these people, like they would pull up on the side, and they would drop their gear off and drop their people off. These competitions were like going on and starting and stopping at all different times of the day. And so, like, I'm looking at it, it's like, the guy's got an armor, knight helmet. So they had fencing and judo, and then like these dudes were getting out, and they'd come out, and they're in full on like night gear.
Yeah.
And there was one picture where like there was like probably 40 of these armored folks, these fencers, knights, whatever you want to call them, all up there at the Arnold statue just getting their picture taken.
That's hilarious.
So the people watching, and then you're walking down the street, and like dudes with no necks, they're just like like you know what, and everybody's got their and it was 70 degrees. 70,
Yeah, it
75
was nice.
degrees. So they've got their tank tops and their shorts, or their, you know, like, man, if I sold Lululemon, I'd make a freaking killing out here. Like, and so that's going on. The people watching stuff is going on, and in the midst of the people watching, like I was telling you, they were pulling up and like dropping people off. Well, they had cops there, and we watched. And this, to me, this was a big turnoff for me, because the people are just trying to drop their gear off, whatever, or people are waiting on the street for a ride, and they come, scoop them up, and go. Really didn't stop traffic, you know, but for a split second. So these people are dropping gear off, and the cops would stop them. Some got tickets, others got towed. Like, we watched probably 10 people, 2 cars get towed, and 10 people get tickets right out of our window on something just as, it was simpler than a bus stop.
I was in Vancouver, and we were setting up a new store. It was when I was Liz. We were setting up a new store downtown Camp Vancouver, and there was a little alleyway, and tow trucks would back in there, and people would, there's no parking certain times. Dude, there was no hesitation. They pulled the trigger. We would stand on, like, lunch breaks and stuff when we were setting up the stores, we'd stand on the front, and we'd just watch. And this is how regular it was. A guy pulled in, had to run in and just, like, I don't know, pay a bill or something really quick. This guy's just, we all do it like, I'll just be in here for a couple minutes. Gets out, bam. 2 minutes, Tom, that car is gone. Like, that tow truck, bang, bang, they angle it, gone.
So,
Take off down the street, and it's just like, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say 2 minutes. They were parked right there. They come out, get the car, gone. I could not imagine going in real quick just to ask a question. Come back out and your car's gone. It's towed.
So there was an instance, and I didn't record it. I was recording it from up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was an African-American couple who they were parked on the side. There was a bunch of motorcycle cops, and they basically told them to come back around, pulled them in the middle lane. So that now they're in the middle lane, they're stopped, they're not blocking traffic, anything. And like, he's talking to the woman, and I didn't really see, like, I think she was probably questioning, like, really, like, I'm getting a ticket for this is stupid, like, I was literally here for 30 seconds, blah,
right,
blah, blah, blah. And then the gentleman that was with her, he comes back around, and he's kind of the same way, like, this is dumb. The cops basically, like, there was, at least we couldn't hear anything. You know, we were like 2 stories up, and you're watching it, and I'm like, this is kind of odd, right? And they send him into our lobby of our hotel. Well, before going to the lobby, this may have been where things got bad. She tried to slip the cop some money to let him go away. He smacks her hand, knocks the money out. She picks it up. He sends them into the lobby, and then proceeds to, now he's searching her car. So it went from parking ticket to bribing a police officer to, all indications are, I don't think he found any, I don't know.
Right.
He pulled some stuff out of the car, I don't know. So, to the car now getting towed. Fast forward About 30 minutes. Motorcycles. It's 3 people on motorcycles. Guy and 2 girls. Similar situation. They get pulled into the middle. They're getting a citation. This guy, he had a black vest on and it said combat vet on the back. Same cop. Trying to give him a ticket. This guy is, I can't hear it. I'm going strictly off of body language. He wasn't telling him, I love you. Do you want to go out to dinner? He was.
Good to see you again, buddy.
He was lots of hand motions, lots of this. Then the woman got involved, and she wasn't having any of it either. She was all attitude, and
you're talking about the people in the car, not the cops, right?
these are motorcycles, not the cops.
Okay, motorcycle. Okay,
Right, and this guy's getting
so just civilians.
She's rolling her eyes, and she sits back down, and she is just looking back at him like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, you just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And the guy, the husband or whatever, or boyfriend or friend, he's like, calm down. And then he comes back, and now he's lighting up this cop, and he's pointing, and I'm going, don't point it, don't hit his chest, don't hit his chest. And sure enough, he points and boom, boom, like at this police officer. 2 white police officers, and then this black police officer comes up. He's pointing at his chest, and I'm thinking, oh, this ain't gonna be good. And it keeps going. And then all of a sudden, there's a handshake. And he turns to his wife or girlfriend, basically saying, hey, shake this guy's hand. She goes, no, I don't want any part of it. Can't confirm this. Pretty sure they let them go. So I'm like, I've never really seen profiling, but from my bird's eye view, I'm like, potentially could have been some profiling there, because that if there was anybody just based off body language, like she did try to bribe the cop, like, but that dude's pointing at him and like, if he didn't hit his chest, I mean, he is
right. Not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
centimeters away. Like. It was just one of those, like, you're sitting up there like, that's awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, bird's eye view, extremely entertaining.
Yeah, right.
But, like, witnessing it, it's like, man, something didn't seem right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to go on a soapbox, but, like, that was my perspective of those 2 particular.
Yeah, apples to apples.
Yeah. Like, where was this going to go?
Playing out a little bit different.
Yeah.
And
it's like kind of a little bit of everybody was in the wrong there.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know.
Right.
Either way. So anyway, I digress.
That's another word that's trending on the show. It's I digress.
So
we go in our rabbit holes.
So we get there Friday.
Digress.
We left here about 8 o'clock in the morning. We were going to go to COSI. Cool museum.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been there, cool museum. There was a couple of things that were interesting up there. One, so Columbus. This is again, this will be political too. So because the Arnold was in town, they kept their citywide mandate until Monday. Mask mandate. So like, we're walking around the museum and everybody's got to have a mask on the museum, whatever. We follow, we're not rule breakers. We follow the rules, but it was just kind of like, really, like they specifically said it's ending on Monday,
right?
When the Arnold's over. So
Super Bowl, put it on the shelf,
right?
Yeah.
So we go to the museum, and there was some really cool exhibits in there, and one of the ones that we went to, they have I don't know if it's the only one, but I think it's the best Marvel comic exhibit, and we probably spent the most time out of any of the exhibits in that one.
Right.
And it had like real costumes that were worn in the movie. It talked about the history of Marvel Comics, which I didn't know, right? Which basically started during World War II. It was they were writing these comic books to entertain kids, giving them something to read.
Right.
I guess it was probably a little bit of propaganda, because then you had Captain America coming out, and this
don't demonize our military,
USA,
give them
USA,
make them heroic. Yeah.
Hitler's the villain, and how that led into like all these different Marvel comics. And,
yeah.
like it was really cool to see. Like even like at one point there was a hologram.
It's controlling the narrative.
There was a
100%.
hologram Iron Man exhibit. So you go into this thing and like you're watching the screen, and it turns you into Iron Man. So it puts the costume on you, and
Awesome.
then you get you're like virtual reality, kind of like flying, and then you shoot some stuff, and it gets a picture, and like yeah, that was pretty cool. And then there was a human body exhibit, like that was kind of uncomfortable because like they had actual like cadaver parts
Ooh.
insert in there. And there was one that was really uncomfortable, like it was like talking about birth, and they had real babies like all the way from the very beginning.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, like all the way up to, and my kids, it says on there like warning, like there's some things in here may be uncomfortable for some. Then you get to, they had one, this is not to make fun of it, it's just, if you can put yourself in my shoes with adolescent boys, and me being an adolescent boy as well.
Well said.
So there's one exhibit in there that is like, it's talking about two different types of cancer. So you have breast cancer on one side, and you have testicular cancer on the other.
All right.
Okay, so they have this. It's made out of fabric, but it's supposed to be a boob. Okay, and you turn on the thing, and it's telling people like about self-examination, right? And it's like it's sitting there like holding,
Right.
boob. And then on the other side, they have this. I can't even anything other than a sack, right? Just
Scrotum.
it's hanging down, and it's doing the same thing on how to self-exam. And like Austin grabs it, he goes, "Oh man, like this, like, Dad, don't look at this, don't look at this." It's like just so uncomfortable.
I'm all right.
Like, yeah, you can, yep.
I think I feel something wrong here. He'll figure it out himself.
And then one of the cool there was a lot there, but one of the things was it was called Progression, and it started like I want to say like early 1900s, late 1800s, where they had like just an old town where you could go into like these fake buildings, and it would have like a horse and stable, and then you had the postman, and you had the bar, the grocery store, whatever it was. You can go in, and it kind of had this feel of being in that time.
Yep.
And then you went into the 60s. Like in the 60s was cool. Like you had the diner, and it had a jukebox that you could actually play music on the jukebox, and the kids are going around, and they're like pretending to make ice cream sodas, and then you got the barber shop, and then you got the news. Like there was an appliance store where you could get appliances or have them fixed, and you walk down around this corner was the news station, and you could be an anchor on the news. Well, that news feed fed into the TV in the appliance store.
Awesome.
So like we're all like taking turns like reading the teleprompter, like being the newsman, and then we got pictures of like us like on TV,
Yeah,
reading it. Like that was pretty cool. Then Friday night we went to eat. We went to eat at this place. I could go. I'm telling you this whole thing. So we were looking for a place to eat, and we're walking to the Jackets game, which the Arena District is another Dora district right there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a bunch of stuff, restaurants are around it. Like I think Cincinnati's Dora district is better. There's more there. It's bigger.
Right.
But there was a place there called Brothers, and we probably got there like 5 o'clock. And it was like the game didn't start till 7, so we got in there at the perfect time. And you kind of walk in, and it's like looks like just a bar, but it's huge. And so it's like, are kids allowed in here? Like, yeah, kids are allowed in here. Just sit wherever. You order everything from the bar. So like food, drinks, everything. Like you go to the bar,
right,
and they'll bring it to you.
It's neat.
I'm like,
I got a story. Circle back on that.
so, and I got one too when I tell you about how the weekend is kind of how that all kind of went. But as it got packed in, it's like now all of a sudden just to get refills, even for like pop, water, whatever, like they don't have servers. Like nobody comes to your table. Like,
Yeah.
it's like now you're waiting in line for somebody to pay his bill, plus somebody else is getting refills. Like long lines is like kind of frustrating. The food was amazing. It was just your typical bar food, but they had a really, really nice like boneless chicken wing. Really, I like spicy stuff. I got the spicy one. It was really good. Go to the game. Game was awesome. We had really great seats. Goes to overtime. They end up losing. You know, we don't know a whole lot about hockey other than what we see on the video games. And
Right.
We watched a game a couple nights before just to kind of get a feel. Right? It's like, hey,
Yep.
we're gonna become fans. Let's try to,
What's offsides?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
icing? Yep.
you know, and it's like there's in Columbus, they've got a good fan base. It's packed.
Mhm.
You know, it's 3 stories high. Seats are full. You know, and
From what I understand, it's a beautiful arena.
it's awesome.
Yep.
It's absolutely awesome. And so, like, you're watching, they're playing the Kings. The Kings are, like, extremely fast. You know, it ends up going overtime. They lose. Get up the next day. The play again. We kind of lucked out here because this was planned a couple weeks in advance. We're gonna do a pedal wagon. Okay, and the weather was 75 degrees. Like, you really lucked out in March to go to
Yeah.
Columbus and get a pedal wagon, not get rained on, and have like really, really nice weather. So like we walked everywhere. So we walked down to catch this pedal wagon. And I had seen pedal wagons before. Like, you've seen the big ones downtown where people are having fun, they've got their drinks and they're just pedaling, just kind of coasting through, and you know, music's playing. Ours was a little different. Like, it wasn't a big one. It was 6 seats around, basically kind of like not really a table, but you kind of put your cooler in the middle.
Right.
And then you had we'll call him the conductor, right? Who's the tour guide.
Yep.
He's here. And I always assumed, what happens when you assume?
How do you spell it?
Yeah. I always assumed those pedal wagons had some type of motor, starter, some type of characteristic to where, like, if somebody just wanted to literally just sit there and just pedal,
Yeah, cruise control.
yeah, this didn't have that. Wow. So Blake can hardly reach the pedals. Carson's in Hey Dudes.
I wore my Hey Dudes today.
And Austin's not exactly the tallest or the biggest kid, right? So like we get on there and like just pedaling, and when you're on the flat road, it's fine. He's like, hey, you got 2 stops. We stop typically for like 30 minutes. Like, you tell me where you want to go. I'm like, well, we don't really know anything about it. You kind of give us some options. So he says this one place. It's called Bud Dairy. What's Bud Dairy is? I'm thinking, like, is it like, are the cows there? Like, do they have milk, ice cream? Like,
Right.
What is it? He said, well, it's a series. It was a big building, and they have like a bunch of like restaurants and bars and stuff in there that you can go see. And so we start going to this Bud Dairy, and we get to, I mean, it is a slight hill. I can't even tell you how slight this hill actually looks like. And we had to pedal about a half mile up this hill.
That slight hill just became a big hill.
And like when you got to the top, it was like, oh my god, like your quads and your hamstrings are tightened up. You're sweating at this point. Like, there was one point, like, trying
Come on,
to get,
Blake, pull your weight, kid.
like him and I are standing up like we're in the movie Rad, like BMX. Like, we're just like we're going as hard as we can on this thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've done. Like,
The Rad reference
I
is
asked him, I said,
fantastic.
do any of these pedal wagons have, like, I don't know, like
Help?
a helper, like something to kind of get you started? Like, what if you got, what if you got some people that, like, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. I feel like my kids, Nicole, she's in pretty good shape. I'm like, but not all people may not be in that good
Pretty
shape.
good shape.
So, but you're not going to turn them down. Like, where do you take, like, that? Is that trip just straight downhill? And you just keep the brake on the entire time? The other part about that is knowing that we have to start up and you're going down the strip in Columbus on High Street. Stop, start, stop, start,
Yeah.
stop, start. And, like, God forbid you don't make the green light and you get stopped. So it's like, pedal, brake, pedal, brake. So we go to that Bud Dairy, and he brings up in front of the kids, he says, there's a place, Pins Mechanical, which we have a Pins Mechanical here, right? It's like, you know, kind of a little bit Chuck E. Cheese, modern. Like, it's got like a bunch of arcade games, like the arcade bowling game. And like, my kid's like, yeah, we should go there. We should go there. He said, I'll warn you.
Right up that hill.
So he said, this hill was mild. He said, to get there, there's 2 hills that are bigger than this to get there. By the time we get there, there ain't gonna be much time at Pins Mechanical.
Right.
We're like, we're not going to Pins Mechanical.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't pedaling that. I ain't doing that. I'm not going up that hill. My kids were like, what do you mean? Like, well, I want to go there. I want to go there. I'm like, yeah, you're not pedaling. Like, it was way more work.
Yeah.
It was good experience. The weather was great, but way more work than I.
Signed up for.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Like I was expecting it to kind of be loose, relaxed. Like, hey, this is such and such. This is such and such. It wasn't any of that. Like, it was straight work for 2 hours.
Ah.
And like, ooh, like, yeah, I don't know if I'll. Glad I did it. Don't know if I'll do it again.
Right.
Right. And then that was Saturday. So then came back for people watching
So you guys are going Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, and then came back Sunday morning.
Oh, Sunday morning. So
Yeah.
all this is in 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
you guys were like nonstop.
Yeah,
you
it
guys
was.
sleep
It was-
good?
Yeah, it was nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to dinner Saturday night at a place in the Arena District, and then go to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the game Saturday night was even better than the game Friday night. Like, they were down. I think it was 3-3 or 3-2 or 4-3, and like people are getting up out of their seats. Like, it's
over.
over. It's over. They scored the game tying goal with 1.8 seconds to go in the third. I'd never seen that in hockey before. Like, next thing you know, everybody's back in their seats. We're going to overtime again.
Yes.
Overtime, they end overtime tied, and they end up losing it in a shootout, but it was a blast,
Yeah.
right? And so we go back, whatever.
Shootouts are neat to watch.
Yeah, the whole thing was just because usually when I go to sporting events, like Reds, Bengals, or like Bearcats basketball, like I'm in tune with what's going on, like with the team,
Right.
who's playing, who's not playing. You know, they're not having a great season, or they're having a great season. So and so should be traded. You know, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
like, I don't have that perspective for the Blue Jackets.
You know, it's so everybody's got teams they hate and stuff they hate and teams they love and passionately follow. You know, we got the Steelers we hate. You know, and so it's probably 10 years ago, man. I made a decision. I'm not hating anymore, and I think we talked about this early in the show. And it's just so sitting at a Blue Jackets game where you're absolutely neutral and you're just a fan of the game within itself and the highlights of the game and the clean play. It's the best way to watch a sporting event. And I think once I eliminated hatred toward other teams and dislikings and players and this and that, and there's still some that you just don't care for a certain character, but even just to watch a football game, those lenses, it's fantastic. So to experience that hockey game of sitting in that neutral chair of appreciating the game at its purest form,
Now,
it's awesome.
notice I did not say I sat in a neutral chair. Because I could not disagree anymore with what you just said. So first of all, I put a friendly wager on the Blue Jackets
right.
for both games, so I had a little bit of an interest. On top of that, like, I'm adopting them as my team. They're the
All right.
closest NHL team, and it's fun.
So we hate the Kings.
It's fun to be in that crowd because there are people that, they're wearing the jerseys. They're doing everything. They follow the team.
So
And-
real quick with etiquette, because I went to a few hockey games in Canada, their junior system and NHL, and it's so neat because when the puck is in play, no one stands.
No.
Vendors, no one stands. So,
You're not even allowed to go down the aisle.
right. So once a puck's in play, they will sit in the aisle. Puck's out of play, they'll stand up, beer, pop,
Yeah.
whatever. Puck's in play, they sit down. No one stands. Was it the same?
It was the same.
Good job, America.
Yeah, it was the same.
Good job, Columbus.
You know, you would stand. I guess you would stand more so like where we were seat wise. There were good seats, but like there was like the one blind corner
Yeah.
that you couldn't see. So like if action was picking up, you kind of
Sure.
or the screen they had up top was amazing. So like you're looking up there, and then as the puck's coming, you're down here. But we totally adopted them. Some of it in jest, for fun.
Yeah.
Austin's 12th. He had a blast. And like, they would score, and we're high-fiving, the guys are, it was exciting.
Yeah, nobody stands up to go to the bathroom while the puck's in play.
No.
Nobody stands
you
up.
don't
It's
leave.
it's the culture of the sport. You respect the audience, so you don't block. I love
And
hockey.
But then when they leave en masse.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
You know, so there's
Puck's
that,
out of play.
there's that element, right?
Puck's in play.
Yeah.
Ah, sit down.
Yeah, and then you get to the restroom line. It's like everybody had the same idea.
Yeah.
But Saturday night,
That's cool. That was
funny.
the experience in Columbus.
it was good, and like Saturday night was funny too. Like when you're talking about fandom, like I said, we totally adopted him. We didn't let anybody know that like we didn't know anything about hockey. Like him and I were like, "You suck," like or like "Boo," or you know, "Yeah, we love you." Like, and so
That's awesome.
Saturday night they had the Rick Nash. He's the first Blue Jacket to ever have his jersey hung in the rafters. I wouldn't know Rick Nash if he walked up and punched me in the mouth. Okay. So we get there, like, everybody was getting there at like 5:30. The game was supposed to start at 7. So, like, well, we'll be fine in a restaurant because everybody's getting there early. You know, the gates are opening. They're going to start the ceremony at 5:30. So we get there and go to our seats at like 6:30. We're thinking half hour. Well, Nash hasn't even talked yet. They're still doing all these videos, introductions, blah, 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 blah. Like, he goes on until the game didn't start till 8 o'clock. So we're an hour now later than like me and Austin are like, "We love you, Rick." Like, we were totally like this. And then they show,
Who's Rick?
well, they show
We love
like,
him.
he, mind you, Austin's 12 and he's yelling all this stuff out. And so they show on the board, he played for the Blue Jackets from 2002 to 2012.
Yeah.
Austin was born in 2009. So in those 3 years, he gained an affection for Rick Nash. Like, no, you know,
Can't separate.
so,
And they say, you know, children, man, they develop, you know, from 0 to 5, man. That's when a lot of emotions are developed. So,
it was fun.
you know, he was aware of
Yeah,
Nash, and that was part of his childhood, and he really had that connection, man.
He got a kick out of,
Who's Rick Nash?
yeah, he got a,
love him.
I don't know either, but we loved him. It's like, he got a kick out of like just the, you know, hey, we're going to buy in here. We're going to go 100%.
I love
all
that.
in. And it worked. It was funny. And we had a great time. The games were great. And then Sunday. Okay. So Sunday morning, again, I told you about all the people watching, the cops that are right out there our window. So I had a place to be at 12:30. So I wanted to leave. I wanted to be home by 11 just to help unpack and get cleaned up and get to where I need to be. And so I don't sleep really well in hotels anyway, but did okay. I get up, and the first thing I do is look out the window. Hey, what's going on at the Arnold, right? It's light out. It's probably 7:15. I look out, and there's a big Columbus Police Department box truck, motorcycle cops lined up and down the street, and another special Columbus Police Department special unit right outside of our hotel. I'm like, what is something going on like in our hotel? And I'm still watching people are just walking up and down the street. And then they had a truck full of barricades. I'm like, okay, did they get in trouble yesterday for all the people parking? Are they just going to block the street off? I'm wondering, like, all this stuff, like, what's going on? And I'm looking at everything, and then as things are kind of unfolding, I see somebody walking down the street, and they're holding a sign like this. I'm like, oh, is there like a parade? And then he puts this sign, start, finish. I'm like, is there a marathon? Like, mind you, we valet parked, and we had a place to be, like, in the hotel that's on the corner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look it up, and there's 2 different 5Ks that are going on. I'm like, we got to go.
Yeah, we're about to get trapped.
Yeah, because if we get trapped here, we're screwed. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to leave till noon, 1 o'clock, and then everything is out the window. So, like, you know, we scramble, end up getting out, like, 8:30, you talk about packing up and getting out of there fast.
Yeah.
Like, we did hit the road. She's like, do you want to stop for breakfast? I'm like, I'm not stopping. Like, right now, I'm like, I'm moving at this point. I'm
Yeah.
like, I haven't had any coffee yet. I'm like, we're in a good spot. Like, Blake's not crying, complaining. Austin's not crying, complaining. Carson's not crying. Nobody's saying anything. As long as we stay quiet, straight down 71.
Nice.
Right? And then we got to like Washington Courthouse, and I finally stopped off and we got like McDonald's, and then got home. Like we left at 8. I remember it was 8:48. We got home like 10:15, 10:30.
That's moving, man.
Yeah, it was like the easiest, and that was with a 10-minute stop
At
at
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Like it was just straight shot.
That's
Yeah.
nice. That's good time.
Yeah, so we packed a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and it was a lot of fun. Like you've seen it and went through it. Like you kind of realize as some of your kids get older, like you're gonna lose some of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? And so it was like we wanted to really do something, and I don't know how good of a time he had, but like it was cool to see. Like
Yep.
it was like just seeing different things and being out in the world.
That's a jam-packed weekend for 2 days, man. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, it was a 2-hour bike ride that was in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And then walking everywhere, like it wore you out.
Well, I remember Paige and I, she had a tournament in Philadelphia, and we were walking around, and there's so much history there. And we just had an early game in the day, like an 11 o'clock game, and then they were done for the rest of the day, which was great. And we were like, what do you want to do? Let's go to Philly. Let's go downtown, see the Bell, see everything about it. And it was just walking around. And what it makes me think of is, when you have those days like that, it's like, hey, guys, there's this. Do you want to do it? Yeah. Hey, there's this. Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Might as well. Hey, what would you guys want to go check this out? Yeah. So we're walking around downtown Philly, like, what is that? Only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Proverbial time filler.
What is that? I don't know. Let's go. So it was like, what is that? Like a little 5-year-old kid's like, what is that?
You want to read
What
the
is that?
sign.
What is that?
You know,
Yeah.
that's a thing of mine too. Like how you're driving down the road and you see like you'll be outside somewhere and there'll be like a sign.
Yeah.
Like it's a historical sign. Like, oh man, never thought there was something with history or historical that took place
Yeah.
right here. I wonder what that says.
Yeah, you hear all of it, they walked this path, like, oh, whoa, so our founding fathers were, like, they all hung out right here.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is that? And just, again, back to the life lessons of baseball and softball, it's just, go. Just do it. Like, what is that? I don't know. Yeah. What is that? I don't know. Come sit around. What'd you do over weekend? I don't know. There's a lot of entertaining things, but we just sit in a room.
Yeah.
Like, go look.
Do something.
Yeah.
Like
So that sounds like that's what your weekend was.
It was
full of,
walking. It was like, hey, you wanted to stop and get something to eat, get something to drink. Okay, let's do that.
let's just go look.
Yeah, let's just do it.
That's
right?
awesome.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we've eaten up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Alexa, play home.
Home by Blake Shelton
There you
on Amazon.
All right, sounds
Because
good.
we're home now.
We're
So-
home now. We're home now. We're back.
So we'll play that on our way out. So it's been great. There's a lot of stuff that we didn't get into today, but man, I knew that was going to take a little bit.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff. So we had some great
Thoughts and
weekends.
prayers to Ukraine.
Yes.
And everything going on over there, and everything going on here because of the effects of that, and filling up the gas tank. You can't help but think of. There's people that are struggling to fill up the tanks right now, and it's heartbreaking. And hopefully we get this figured out.
Yeah.
Thanks, local legends.
Yes.
Thank you, White Oak Productions. Thank you, Tolby Suggs Group.
Yes.
For everything that you guys do and your support and your contributions to keeping this thing going every now Tuesday.
Yeah. Check out the podcast. Check out the YouTube. We will be back next Tuesday. Same time, same place. Till then, peace.
Peace.